Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. We're back with an in-game analysis as City faced Chelsea at the Etihad. City came from behind to win 2-1 thanks to goals by De Bruyne and Mahrez, whilst Kante scored for Chelsea. It was Pep and Lampard's first league meeting, and both managers used interesting tactics, so let's take a look at them. A quick reminder of the formations, as both teams lined up in a 4-3-3, as you can see on the OneFootball app, which is today's video sponsor. You can get formations, team stats, player stats, and much more through the free app, which is available for Android and iOS, and you can check it out through the link in the description to support the channel. We'll start with what Chelsea did when they were on the ball, as they had more possession. Chelsea were brave when looking to build up, and weren't afraid to take chances on the ball. Kepa would look to distribute to the centre-backs, and the full-backs moved higher with some caution. Manchester City, when defending, would swiftly move to a 4-4-2, with Silva joining Aguero as usual. Manchester City's major concern was not allowing Jorginho, their metronome, to have time on the ball, and would always be sure to have a man on him, often rotating as they pressed to make sure that someone had him. But their 4-4-2 shape led to similar problems as they experienced against Liverpool. Chelsea didn't drop Jorginho between the centre-backs, so they had a 3 versus 2 advantage in the midfield, which explains why they had so much possession. Kovacic would join Jorginho to form a double pivot to exploit this central advantage. When they received the ball, they rotated possession effectively between them, having the most passes of any midfielder, as well as Kovacic completing several take-ons. Rodri would often be dragged out of position, creating a hole in this region when he looked to press, and Kante's game intelligence meant he was tasked with making runs in beyond, as the City centre-backs looked to move up to congest the space as well. This can be shown by him having a much higher average position than the double pivot. With Tammy occupying the centre-backs, combined with a high line, it meant that Kante made this run time and time again and wasn't picked up, and this is exactly what led to the Chelsea goal. But Chelsea also looked to take advantage of the centre in other ways, and their preference for central play is obvious compared to City. If the play was in front of the City midfield, both Willian and Pulisic would look to come in, as shown by their average positions being fairly narrow. This again meant that they were easily found between the lines and were often running directly of the centre-backs. This was especially dangerous on the transition, as the two had the pace to breeze past City's only defensive midfielder, Rodri. Mendy would often look to counteract this by moving centrally to cover the winger when City dropped into a deeper shape, but Chelsea would then make a wide overlapping run and look to cross, but to no avail. When behind in the game, James was brought on as he's a better crosser and he got into dangerous zones but couldn't make it count. Mount replacing Jorginho meant that Mount was now the highest of the midfield three, looking to play between the lines, but he couldn't quite make it count. Now let's see how City managed to secure the win. Of course, City looked to play out from the back, forming a U-shape when they had the ball. Chelsea could change between a high press and a mid-block, and Tammy was the key to determining this. If he pushed high to press one of the centre-backs, often looking to cut a pass lane and force City one way, which would then allow the rest of the team to push high, making sure that they always had a midfielder on Rodri, and this would often force City backwards. But if they were to drop into a deep or a mid-block, Abraham would be on Rodri instead, and the team would maintain their compact shape and try to prevent City playing around, which they were successful with at times. In the opening phases, City were struggling to play through this shape. De Bruyne eventually had to drop in alongside Rodri to form a double pivot of their own when they were in the deep phases in order to help keep possession. As the midfield was fairly well matched up for Chelsea, City often had to use the flanks more when building up from deep, using the fullbacks to progress the ball up the flanks, as shown by the fullbacks having more passes than any of the City midfield. City utilised the half spaces as usual. De Bruyne would often move into the right back role with the ball to get some space, allowing Cancelo high up on the wing and Mahrez more centrally, although the roles of all three during this phase was interchangeable. Mahrez and De Bruyne's presence in the half space is shown in the average position. As we previously discussed, the half space causes problems for teams by creating a pocket of uncertainty for the opposition defense, as the fullbacks cover the wide man and the runner can move into this region whilst dragging the centre-back out of position. De Bruyne was able to get off shots as well as attempt crosses from the zone. At the same time, when the City centre-backs had the ball, Chelsea would cut off one side and force them wide. This often meant that Willian would have to press one of the centre-backs rather than the fullback, which freed up the switch to Sterling or to Mendy to attack the left and try to 2 versus 1 Azpilicueta, but Chelsea often doubled back in time. City were clinical with their chances, with a deflected De Bruyne goal and a piece of magic from Mahrez. Their expected goals had City coming out on top anyway, but I'd love to hear any other tactics that you noticed down in the comments below. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.